Hi, I thought I would come and welcome you to the Flower Species channel and show you another project that I just finished working on, and it's called the Victorian flower, and I just got done washing and stiffening it a little bit and pinning it, and it's 80 degrees in here again, so it'll dry fairly quick. I wanted to talk a little bit about the pattern, and then if you want to come back this weekend, hoping Saturday, tomorrow, and Sunday, I can upload some segments of rounds that I'm doing here. Um, this is called, to do a tutorial, this is called Victorian Flower, and the pattern was designed by Glenda Winkleman, I believe in the late 90s. I found this pattern on a free uh, pattern website, which is called Annie's Crafts Online Course. I have never had a dirty or cruddy link that has been given to me by that site, although I have picked up some crapware links from other sites. So this is one I really trust. And the pattern is you would need cotton yarn. This can be done on any yarn again, like the other doily. You can always use any yarn, but if you're looking for that dainty kind of look, then you want to go with a number 10 or a number, if you're using Red Heart, it would be a number 10. If you're using Brene Handicrafter, it would be, I think it's called a 0 or maybe even a number 30. It changes from each brand. Brene, it would be, I think Coats, it would be a number 12. Brene, I think would be a 0, fine. You want a mercurized cotton, one that you would use for lace and 100% cotton. I used a 2.0 number C steel hook that was my Grandma Rose's, which I always love this hook. It calls for a 1.65 to 1.95, and then it gives you the gauge. I'm going to give you all those links when I do the tutorial. And what I would say is use what needle you want to get your gauge. Definitely do a gauge. Not that hard. It's just doing a certain number of rows and a certain stitch and then measuring it. And then just adjusting your yarn or your needle to get that gauge. But if you wanted to play with this, again, you could just add more rows and make a tablecloth if you have a round table. I was thinking of actually making this for my table, but I stopped because then I thought of somebody I wanted to give this to. But you'll need 5 colors, and you don't need much of the 5 colors. If you have like a 100 or 300 yard white cotton or any of those that come in the 300 yard, you'll have enough. This is one that you could really bust up your cotton stash with. And you start in the middle. Let me pin that out a little bit. When you start, it's a little crooked. Let me pin that again. You start in the middle by chaining a certain amount of chains, and then stretch that, and then joining with a slip stitch, and then you're going to fasten off. There's a lot of fastening off in this and rejoining, so you're going to have a lot of tail ends to weave in. The tip I would give you is to weave in your tails as you end each round, otherwise it can be a little bit daunting at the end. That's the only cumbersome or laborsome thing I would say is at the very end. You're going to have a tail for each flower on each side that you did. You're going to have a tail for each leaf on each side. You're going to have a tail for each point that you make on each side. And that can get, and then again on the flowers here. So that would be the tip, is to weave in as you go each round. It's very simple if you know how to single crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, or triple crochet. If you know how to do those things, you can do any of this. There is a special stitch involved with the flower here, but it's not really that special. It's called a popcorn stitch. So if you know how to double crochet, you're just basically double crocheting a certain amount of double crochets and then kind of dropping the last loop off and connecting the first loop to the last loop and joining them. So that's what you do. And then I would say mine unraveled several times because I tried to snip my tails too close when I was weaving them in. Don't do that. Weave in as much of your tail as you can. Snip and leave some tail. Then when you go to block it, then weave in and snip because it'll trap it when you're blocking it. So what I used is Spaha's dye-free, paraben-free daily moisturizer by body wash with skin relief. Just a very gentle soap, and I just gave it a nice dunking and swish, rinsed it really good. So it's clean and it smells good. And then I took about 2 or 3 drops of non-toxic safe Elmer's glue, which you can find anywhere now because school's back soon, and just agitated it to get it broken up. Dipped it really quick in a little bit of that glue and laid it out on a folded towel here in my 80-degree house where it will dry, and pinned it. And what you'll want to do is come and check it every now and again and pin it again to stretch out certain areas that maybe look like they need to be shaped. Using a 2.0 needle, mine came to, let's see, I'm at 12 right here. So I'd say probably about, it's probably really a 14 inch because I'm at 12 here. It's probably 14 inch, about a 14 inch in diameter from one point to the other. Got, let's see, 12, yeah, 13, 14, about 14 inch. By the time it really blocks out though, because you're gonna undo your pins at least once and then stretch it out again. That's the only way you can really see your stitches really open up. By the time I stretch this out, it's probably about a 16 inch because I used the 2.0. But if you were using a 1.90 or a 1.65 or whatever it calls for, then it might be smaller. If you wanted to increase this to a tablecloth, you would just repeat here and start right here again. Like you'd put your little flowers in here. I think that's row 9 and 10. And you would come back up here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would come back up and repeat row 5 to 9. And keep repeating your flower, like your points and your flowers all the way out. And then I did add an extra row of edging and some double crochets in my chain spaces, but you don't have to do that. You can use any color. This one called for yellow in the middle. I didn't have that. I had peach, so I used that. It called for scented lavender, and I didn't have that, so I used rose pink. It called for wood violet. I didn't have that, so I used a misty blue, which is kind of coming out like a violet anyways. It called for a sage green. I had mint green. So you can mix and match your colors. It called for white. I had white. If you wanted to make this a autumn table topper, maybe, you could just add in burnt oranges and browns and golds and rustic colors of a leaf, purples. I would take the colors of maybe a grape bowl, a fruit bowl, harvest vegetables, and just use all those colors. If you wanted to go for like a bohemian kind of vibe to it, you could just use all the earth tones like browns, greens. I would think sunrise, sunset, but muted. So you could really personalize this if you wanted to go for like a hippy dippy. I don't mean dippy, like a hippie um, fractal artsy kind of one. You could go with variegated yarn or start with a big bold sunshine yellow and then go from that to like a tangerine peach and then lime and big bright purples and oranges, and you can make it any old way you want. Although I don't think with the variegated yarn you'd really be able to see the flowers. Um, really nice. This is supposed to be Victorian. It's called Victorian flowers. So if you want to stay Victorian, I would stay with blues for your flowers and lavenders and purples. But another good color that works for Victorian is like a beach color, maroons, and kind of another color that works good for Victorian is sort of like a rusty orange. All I can think of right now is the color of rust around the edges. But that would work really good for autumn or for, um, Victorian. If you wanted to go for a Christmas one, you could just change up the colors to poinsettia colors or go with a sparkle yarn. Um, if you wanted to make it an Easter kind of one, you could do all pastels. Like put more pinks in there and purples and yellows and greens, and so you can really personalize it. I'll come back and make a video this weekend of this one using 4 medium worsted weight yarn, and I'll have the link, which you can go to right now. You can go to Annie's, ANNI''S craft online courses, Victorian flower, and there's a beautiful PDF there. There are a few special stitches that I'll just go over, and then some little things that you need to do to make your points. Well, excuse me, once you get done blocking it, that would be a good time to go back and see if there's any areas that you need to reinforce. Like I can see right here, there's one area I want to reinforce there and here. And then just have fun with it. Give it to somebody who's going to enjoy it. Excuse me. And yeah, it's been fun learning how to do these. I think they can be really nice things to give, like if you have a special aunt or a neighbor, or maybe somebody in your family is getting married, you want to give them an heirloom piece, whatever. Alrighty, have a nice day, happy Friday, happy weekend. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.